recording. So, welcome to the Regal podcast, and this is Posie Upshall. So, would you like to give a little bit of an introduction to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Posie, and I have a luxury lingerie brand named after myself. So it's called Posie. And it's based around being ethical. So everything's made in the UK and trying to be as sustainable as possible.
So, why did you get into lingerie? Like, what was it that drew you to that industry?
Okay, so it's a bit of a weird story. So when I was at college, I always knew that I wanted to have a business in fashion. And then I got to college and all I would draw was like I loved life drawing and I'd always draw like women in lingerie and stuff. Um, and one of my final projects, I made a pair of knickers and I was just like really obsessed with making knickers. And my teacher said to me, "You do realize there's a course that you can actually just do lingerie?" And I was like, "Okay, that could be quite good." And he was like, "And to be honest, you're more likely to get a job in that industry than you are fashion because everyone does fashion."
Hmm.
So it was kind of like just a natural course for me to go in, to be honest.
So, you just literally, you'd spend all your free time just drawing like models in underwear or like modelling underwear on drawings. I like it.
Yeah, loads of naked ladies, basically.
I rate that. So how does that work then? Like, is the fashion industry, like you said, more saturated than the lingerie industry? Because obviously, I'm not part of either industry. I don't really understand the ins and outs of it. So, is the
Yeah.
lingerie industry less saturated then?
Yeah, so if you think every university pretty much has a fashion course
Hmm.
with however many students, that many students are graduating every year with the same degree.
Hmm.
Whereas contour fashion, which is what I studied, there's only three courses in the whole world that do it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, a lot less people.
So, you go to De Montfort, didn't you? Or did you went to De Montfort? Sorry.
Yeah, I went to De Montfort, yeah.
So De Montfort is one of the three places. Did you say in the world or the UK that do this
In the
course?
world.
In the world. Oh, see, I
Yeah.
assumed, I obviously assumed that every university does it, just because obviously I go to De Montfort as well. I haven't gone out and looked for that course in other universities, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Though I didn't realise so few universities do it. Um,
Yeah. And De Montfort's the like longest standing one, so it's the first one that ever started. So I think it's like it's over 70 years old now.
mm.
London started theirs, but theirs is quite recent that they've started theirs. So De Montfort's the best one by far.
Why is it so new then? Why hasn't it existed before, like 70 years ago, De Montfort?
I don't know. I guess it's I guess it's one of those things that fashion students must have kind of done.
Mm.
And now I think it's the lingerie industry's expanded, so it's swimwear, it's corsetry, it's athleisure. So it's becoming a bit more of everything basically.
I suppose it's becoming more of a norm as well, because like until probably the last 30 years, lingerie probably wasn't something that was talked about mainstream. It was probably just a very, keep your modesty kind of topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now, I suppose it's very much just if you want to buy lingerie in front of whoever you can, it's more chilled out. So I suppose
Yeah,
that might
yeah,
help it. Though
yeah.
one big thing you talk about on your website and your social media and just your business overall is basically taking a stance against fast fashion.
Hmm.
What exactly is fast fashion, and why should we basically not be endorsing it?
So if you think that like there's two main seasons, spring, summer, and autumn, winter,
Hmm.
it's always been those two seasons and it was quite slow before, but now people with social media, people's attention spans are obviously really short. So now brands are creating new collections for literally like the 52 weeks of the year.
Hmm.
So if you go into H&M, Primark, Topshop, any of those, you every week you will see new things in there.
Hmm.
And it's just really bad for the environment and really bad for the people that make the clothing,
Hmm.
especially for like the price that it's made. And it's something that I've done a lot of research on, and it just makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like I used to love shopping, like fashion is my favorite thing,
Hmm.
but now I can't go into a shop without seeing like, oh, a slave has made that.
Yeah.
Like I can't see past it.
Hmm.
So it was something that when I started my own brand, I knew that I wanted to like completely stay away
Stick
from
this.
that side of it.
So how do you kind of compete then with brands? I think it's Pretty Little Thing, I believe, one of the worst brands
Yeah.
for it, just from what I've seen on like from my friends. Um, so like, how do you compete against brands like that then? Because obviously, if they're putting out a new collection every week of the year, like you said, they're
Hmm.
just basically putting out more fresh designs. It's going to be new and exciting every single week. Whereas as a a startup owner or a small business owner or even just somebody who wants to be an ethical fashion brand, how do you compete when you can't or like don't want to put out that many fresh collections, fresh ideas? Like how do you compete with that then?
I think it's just a completely different like customer base.
Hmm.
Like I think with like my sister, for instance, she loves Pretty Little Thing. She'll buy things from Boohoo and she'll get it. And none of it ever fits. None of it's ever like good quality. It breaks really easily.
Hmm.
And I think you either go for that and you have that like idea of like it's throwaway fashion, or you are someone that cares. So I think like for my customers, they're more interested in things that last longer and that actually fit well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it is just different customers.
Okay, so it's just literally finding that different customer base that appreciates the quality and the almost appreciates the slowness as such of it,
Yeah,
rather than just right. I want this now. It's almost like people who prefer McDonald's to a home cooked meal kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
That's the kind of the way I look at it. So, how did you go about finding these? What I'm going to call higher quality customers, as to call them, give them a name. How did you go about finding them?
Yeah. So I knew that like I knew a lot of lingerie bloggers from lingerie brands that I already followed.
Hmm.
And I knew that I needed to kind of be one of their friends as such. Like
Hmm.
I needed to get to know them so that I could be part of the industry. So I actually had a launch event when I started my business. So I invited them all to the launch event. And I think only two came because it was in Leicester. And obviously, most of them are based in London or like all around the world.
Hmm.
But it gave me a really good chance to start talking to people that were the bloggers. And once I started building that relationship with them, that's when they started to buy things from me, and then they post it on their walls, and then all the other bloggers started buying. So it was kind of like I was getting paid for the marketing as such,
Yeah, yeah.
because they were buying my stuff and then they were marketing it for me.
So you're very much a big fan of influencer marketing. So like you just said, you got the influencers, and then they started posting your content to their wall, and then you would get paid for it rather than going down like the paid advertising route, rather than going down the, like trying to spam message 150 people a day, trying to get one person to buy from you kind of route, which I'm a big fan
Yeah,
of
yeah,
anyway.
like
So
oh, yeah, I personally like I'm influenced by influencers, and that influences my purchases.
hmm.
So I guess yeah, that was like a natural route for me to go down, and I love that side of like content creation. That's like in marketing, that's my favorite thing. So I think I've just gone for what I enjoy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like there's plenty of people out there that say you should just do what you enjoy, do what you're passionate about, and you'll be successful in business pretty much. So I think you're doing the right thing. Um, so
Yeah,
like you say, you're obviously basically doing what you enjoy. You're obviously talking to influencers that you kind of enjoy, like enjoy interacting with anyway. So how did you go about starting up
yeah.
that conversation? I assume you didn't just message them and say, "Hey, do you want me to send you some clothes? Like, do you want to wear them for me and promote it?" Or did you just have that pre-existing relationship?
So I first of all invited them to the launch event,
Yeah.
and then I got like talking to them about my brand. But then after that, I just kind of like would go on their posts all the time and like comment on them and
Hmm.
just build the relationship, and then they would do the same for me.
Hmm.
Um, and they're not like big bloggers. I actually found that like some of the smaller bloggers have been more beneficial than the bigger bloggers that I've used,
Hmm.
because I think that like it depends how much what do you call it, like engagement the person has. So if even if they've got 3,000 followers, but they get like 70 comments on a post, then they're more valuable than someone that's got, 50,000 followers and only gets like 50 comments on a post.
So you don't try and focus on the vanity metrics, as they're called. So like likes, saves, even. It's just kind of all about those people who are getting those comments are more likely to convert to sales.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the people that actually have like built more of a community.
Hmm.
I find that works a lot more.
How did you train yourself to think about it like that? Because obviously, a lot of people, even business owners, when they start a business, they kind of get upset or stressed out because maybe a post only got a few likes. When in
Mhm.
reality, like we say, they should be focusing on the comments, the people who are messaging them off the back of posts. How did you kind of train yourself to not care about the likes, not care about the saves and shares, but care more about the actual conversion?
Um, I think because it's a lingerie brand, um, I've been like banned from Facebook before. I've been banned from Instagram. I know that my engagement is a lot lower. So if I post on my lingerie page, my engagement is so much lower than if I post something on my personal page.
Mm.
So I think from like the offset, I knew that being a lingerie brand was going to be like really difficult in terms of engagement anyway, because obviously like your posts get banned. Like I can't use hashtags because it's lingerie. So I guess I you can't get upset about that
Yeah.
when it's not really like my problem, if you know what I mean.
Why did they ban you then?
They banned me because of like inappropriate imagery, like
Mm.
sexualized imagery. And like Facebook won't allow the word lingerie in my like like your username.
Yeah.
It won't allow the word lingerie. It's banned from Facebook. It's a naughty word, apparently.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So it's like I know I listen to these gurus and they're like, oh yeah, like there's no such thing as shadow banning. But
no,
I'm
there
like,
definitely is. I've been
there
shadow banned
definitely
numerous
is.
times. Gee,
I am shadow banned.
I didn't realise
Like,
they banned it. So, like banned lingerie and like I thought it was literally just like full on nudity. Like full frontal nudity, not like underwear. Because it's what's the difference between underwear and swimwear?
yeah, well, they are actually like starting to bury posts that's like even if it's just like me in my swimwear, like a casual picture at the beach, they will bury your post more than they would other posts.
That's
If the
crazy.
AI can see bare skin, then it will like hide your posts basically.
That's crazy though.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of social media shadow banning or limiting like your free speech or choice of what you want to put on your social media because at the end of the day they're platforms.
Mm.
They're not meant to be companies that control a narrative. They're platforms, and on platforms you should be free to post what you want, surely. But no,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I didn't realise how strict they were because obviously, like, I don't post bikini pictures. Obviously, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody wants to see that. Um, so yeah, no, but that's mad. I didn't know that they did that. And if they do that for words like lingerie, what else? What else are they shadow banning? What else are they burying?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll use a certain hashtag and then you'll go on it and it'll say like this hashtag is temporarily out of use because it's like some people have seen that it's offensive or something. But it's like I understand like obviously different religions and stuff like that, like lingerie is not appropriate.
Mm.
But then I think, well, just don't go on the hashtag then
Yeah,
if you don't want to see it.
yeah, no, if
It
it
does,
disagrees with your religion, don't go on the lingerie hashtag. Don't go on the I don't know bikini hashtag. What are you doing
yeah,
on there? The thing is, as
yeah.
well, it's probably just some people who disagree with it going on that hashtag and just reporting every post they see.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that annoys me, and I don't know if you've seen this, but female nipples are banned from like Instagram. So if it's a female nipple, it will be removed.
Hmm.
But if it's a male nipple, it's fine.
How does it tell the difference? That's what I'm confused
I
about.
don't I don't know. I think like it does get confused
Yeah.
sometimes. But there is this artist that like removes female nipples and places like male nipples over the top.
So it's just like a woman with just like hairy nipples for no reason.
Yeah,
Oh,
which apparently is fine.
rate that. I don't know where the whole thing about like female nipples and female boobs in general being sexualized, but men's are fine. I don't know where that thing's come from because that's like I've done research into this because it's like I've been curious and it's only been a thing for the last like 30 years, 40 years.
Mm,
Before
yeah,
that, it was just pretty much like not the same, but it was if you both want to be topless on a beach, for example, it's considered normal. Whereas now
yeah.
you've got nudist beaches where they're the only places that women can basically be topless.
Hmm.
And I don't know where it's come from. I find it really weird because we've been having a trend of being more liberal and like being more free for both genders, and yet at the same time it's become more restrictive. And I don't know how that's happened or why that's happened, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's
That's what
baffling.
I've noticed. Like, Instagram have added more guidelines recently. I've seen a lot of the lingerie bloggers posting it.
Mm,
Um, and it's getting harsher and harsher, even though like you'd think that it would be getting more liberal, like you say.
yeah. Well, yeah, because obviously
It's
you've got the free the nipple movement. You've got
yeah,
God knows whatever movement, but you've got all these different movements coming out, and it like if you look at it from that perspective, it's like okay, great, like the world's becoming more liberal, got more freedom. Brands like lingerie brands are going to have more freedom to post what they want and post what they need to grow their brand. But then you hear all this stuff like you've just said, like you're being shadow banned for pretty much
yeah,
no reason. That makes no
yeah.
sense.
And another thing as well is Instagram and Facebook shop. So none of my garments get accepted; they won't be approved. And I noticed a lot of other lingerie brands lately, all of their like shopping tags have been removed,
Mm.
apart from the larger lingerie brands, which haven't. So I'm assuming that if you pay for ads, that you're allowed to have your shop on there, and if you don't pay for ads, then you aren't. I'm not really sure how it works, but
Mm.
yeah, mine will always just say not approved, not approved, not approved,
That's really
and it's
weird.
really frustrating because
Mm.
obviously Instagram have now moved all of their like the interface, haven't they? So that where you used to go on like your likes, it's now the shop. They're
Yeah,
really heavily focusing on people buying stuff.
yeah.
Yet for a lingerie brand, they're
Mm.
not allowing you to put anything on there.
That's really
Yeah,
weird, actually.
you can put sex toys on there. That's fine.
Mm. I suppose you couldn't put a picture of somebody using the sex toy. That's probably where they draw the line. That's really weird though,
Yeah.
because sex toys to me, like if I see a picture of a sex toy, to me that is more explicit than a woman wearing lingerie,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think.
because it's the imagery that goes along with it that's kind of more extreme to me. But that's really weird. I didn't know that was
Yeah,
happening. Like, yeah, because obviously, like you say, they're focusing on the Instagram store, and I think it's because they're trying to become the next Amazon, basically. And then replacing the
yeah,
likes button with the store button is obviously intentional because I click that button all the time, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's not my likes. That's a link to buy a million different items of clothing.
yeah.
But I find it like it's been proven that like Instagram and well Facebook in general favour posts of accounts that pay for ads, as in
Hmm.
they get more engagement, they get shown to more people, even if they're not the post that's promoted. Like that's a proven fact. But I didn't know
Yeah.
that they were literally just not allowing you to put a shop up on Instagram if
Hmm.
you didn't pay for
Yeah.
ads or if you were in certain industries. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's really frustrating. And I've talked to so many different people that like, their profession is marketing,
Mhm.
and it seems like no one can help me, if you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
I tell them all these problems and they're like, whoa, I've never experienced that before. How do you get around it? Nobody knows.
Mm. No, I don't really like. Obviously, I'm obviously a marketer, and I've only ever had one post banned as such, but that
Mhm.
was because I swore in it. And obviously, the get around for that is just don't swear in my post, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you need to either censor it or remove it. So that's an easy fix. But your brand is lingerie. Like, what are you going to do? Make them wear jumpsuits under the lingerie? I
Yeah,
don't think that's quite
exactly.
how that works.
And they want us to do ads, so they'll always email me saying, "Come on, create an ad. Here's some ad credit, blah blah blah." And then I go to create an ad, and it will be like, "No, your ad's not accepted. You can't have that as an ad
So they
because
don't
it's
allow
long."
you to create it.
They'll allow some, which I don't know how they distinguish which you can. But yeah, most of the time it won't be approved.
Could it be a percentage of skin shown? I don't know how the algorithm works, but it could be that.
It might be. It
Mm.
might be. I don't know. Because some of them I'll be like, oh, that's a really risky picture. And they'll be like, yeah, that's fine. You can have that. And then some I'm like, oh, this is quite like, covered up. And
Yeah.
they're like, no, it's not approved. But because it's all like IA, like it's not gonna be very accurate, is it?
Well, no, it's like no matter how well you program AI, it's always going to have a margin for error. Like especially with like looking at real pictures of like people and identifying things, it's never, or at least for the next 10 years, it's never going to be completely accurate.
Hmm.
And obviously, you can't realistically have people going through because then you've got, firstly, you've got like human error, then you've got the fact that there's not enough time in the day to do that, and then you've also got the fact that you're gonna, like, if you have a team of, let's say for argument's sake, highly religious people, and they see a bunch of bikini pictures, they can then choose to censor them as opposed to a picture about, I don't know, Christianity, for example.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't really know what the workaround would be, to be honest, short of not posting pictures of people in your underwear, but then it doesn't really work, does it? So
Yeah. So I've just learnt to accept not to take it to heart that, some posts don't do well because
mm,
there's nothing I can do about it. I've noticed like one of my favorite bloggers as well, she used to post fashion, she got loads of engagement. She loves lingerie, so she started posting loads of lingerie, and now like her followers just dropped, like her engagement is at all-time low. And it's just because Facebook banned the posts.
no, I didn't know that was going on. Honestly,
Mm,
like I say, obviously I don't post like bikini pictures, lingerie pictures, because yeah. But no, that's crazy. Have you got any idea, like any sort of plans moving forward for how you can cope with that? Because I imagine with COVID, that's just like like swipe to the left, swipe to the right, you're on the floor. Like
yeah.
how are you hoping to cope with this and like the whole lockdown COVID situation?
I'm hoping that I'm just going to start my own personal account
Yeah.
and kind of put more like flat lays or, like nothing with like skin in it.
Hmm.
And then hopefully like take people from my personal page to my business page and do it that way. I
Hmm.
think that's the only way I can get around it. Because like my personal account, so I've only got like 300 and something followers on there, just people I know. And I might get like over 100 likes for a selfie.
Hmm.
Yet on my business page where I've got over 5,000 followers, I still get like less likes than on my personal page.
Mm.
So it's really bizarre. So I think people are more like interactive with like a personal brand rather than
Hmm.
a, a business.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I've noticed the exact same thing. So I used to have a business page and a personal page, and I would post just to my business page basically because I'm not a big picture taker. I don't go out and take pictures of everything I'm doing. So
Mm,
I would just create content for my business page, and people would, some people would like it. A couple people would maybe comment, but for the most part, it would just kind of fall flat. But now I'm posting the exact same content. I've not changed it at all to my personal page, and I'm using my personal page to direct people to my website. And I'm getting so much more engagement. I'm getting more DMs from people saying, "Oh, this post was great. Can you do more like this?" So I think it's definitely a positive move. And I think we're in a world and a stage where people don't like the faceless corporate brands, like Pretty
yeah.
Little Thing as such. I couldn't tell you, and this might be because I'm not in the industry, but I couldn't tell you who the CEO was. Whereas a
Mm,
lot more people prefer companies like, for example, Tesla, who, if you say who's the CEO of Tesla, it's Elon Musk, or so a lot of
yeah.
people would possibly know that it's Elon Musk. You know who it is, you can
Mm,
connect with that person. So I think personal brands are definitely the way to go. Like businesses in on the side almost, and you just direct people through your personal brand.
yeah. yeah, I think that's what I'm aiming to do in the new year.
Hmm. Yeah, that definitely. I think it definitely is a good idea. Like that's exactly what I've done, and it's working well. And it's also a lot easier. Just saying, because you don't have to come up with another brand that you've then got to build. You can just be you almost, and throw in a little bit of what your business is, but you can basically just be you, and that's your brand. So it's just a case of being you, which I don't
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
advice. I'm not a fan of that cliche advice, but it's just a case of being you, and like people will resonate with you automatically. Some people will hate you, some people will love you. That's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's going to be your main move then, just sort of going onto your personal to try and avoid getting shadow banned and avoid getting buried.
Yeah, basically.
Fair enough. Another thing that you also sort of touched on with COVID is that your factories have shut down, and it's actually halted the release of one of your new collections that you wanted to put out by, what is it, 6 months, a year at this point?
Yeah, so I wanted to put a new collection out in August.
Hmm. Jeez.
Um, and then like factories has been a real big issue for me, like the biggest challenge I've had. Um, so I worked with one factory, they then closed down. I then found another factory, which was quite good because that was in Leicester and I could walk there and it was great. But the quality when I got it back wasn't amazing.
Hmm.
And then he said that he never wanted to do like a small run again, and he would only do like 200 units if I wanted to go back there. So then I found a different factory. They said, yeah, we'll be opening in October. So I waited till October and I was regularly messaging them. They then said they weren't going to take on any more work because they were losing money when they were doing small runs.
Hmm.
So then I was left I found two other factories that would do it. Um, and now, yeah, like I went to visit one probably a month ago, and they've only just sent my sample back. So it's taken a month to make a sample because of like the second lockdown
Hmm.
and having like loads of staff off. I think half their staff were furloughed, and then staff were being ill, so they would have to have time off. So I'm meant to be launching the next collection next month or February, but I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. So
So
yeah.
have you actually managed to find, like, are you sticking with that factory then, the one that took a month to send back a sample, or?
I'm working with two factories, so I'm going to receive samples from both of them, which should have arrived this week, but it's looking like they'll arrive next week now.
Hmm.
I'm going to compare them, and then I'll choose which one I'm going to use. But I've
Hmm.
decided that I'm going to be making all of the knickers and the suspender belts myself,
Hmm.
and then it will just be the factory that makes the bras.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I've just through lockdown, because the factories weren't open, people asking me for stuff that I didn't have. So I was like, right, I'm just going to make it. And then I think I'm like quite hard on myself. So I'll be like, oh, it's not perfect. It's not very good. But then when I was sending it out to customers, people were like, oh, I didn't even know that you would have made it. And I was like, oh, okay, then I'll just start making it then.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It saves money and it saves loads of hassle as well of like having to send fabrics to a factory, and
Hmm.
it's just easier.
Could you, and again, I don't obviously know the ins and outs of your situation or the industry, but could you hire somebody, like actually as your in your business, like one independent like designer or creator, to actually just make the clothes, and that's their whole job. So then you don't have to send it to
Yeah.
a factory and get it back. You just give them the materials, say here's the design, make the clothes, and give it to me, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is what I'm going to do in the future. Like,
Hmm.
my ultimate dream would be to have like a completely in-house, like everything made in-house.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
kind
imagine
of the
that's way
dream.
easier. Would that actually work out cheaper than a
Yeah.
factory? Because I don't know how much factories charge, but I would assume they charge a quite a big fee for like larger orders, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would probably be cheaper because what I would pay for manufacturing, I could probably pay someone for a whole year to to do.
Nah.
So yeah, it's really expensive, especially in the UK.
Hmm.
The unit cost is so high. Like the factory I went to a month ago, they quoted me £60 for one bra just to have it made.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I was like, no, can't do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what about if I cut it out, initially sew it together, make the straps? And they were like, it will be about £20 just to do like the finishing touches.
Mm.
So it's really expensive.
Mm. At that
So
point,
yeah,
kind of,
I
you've got
think,
to do it yourself because you've obviously got it's the time element as much as the money, I would imagine.
yeah, the thing that I don't like about the sewing is that it takes so long, and it means that I can't work on other things. I can't work on like expanding it, or like the marketing is actually my favorite bit, and it
Mm.
means that I can't really get on and do that if I've got loads of sewing to do, which is why, you know, it's like figuring out what's worth more, like your time, or is it money?
In that case, like as a general rule, I would always say time. Like it's always going to be more valuable because you can always make more money, and you can never get back more time. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I think it would work out quite well. Again, I don't know your situation, but I think it would work out really well if you manage to get a team member on, because then obviously you've got more free time. Realistically, you've probably got more free money, and then you can spend that more of that time doing what you enjoy. So obviously marketing, and then ultimately you can make more money from the fact that you're marketing more rather than just creating the clothes.
Yeah,
What exactly would
yeah.
you be looking for in a team member like that then?
I don't know. See, this is where like I struggle with at the moment because I really want to go traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want to employ anyone just yet
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise I'm not going to be able to kind of go off. Or maybe I am, I don't know. I keep thinking maybe I should just get someone to work for me and say, "Look, I might not be there for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still come into the studio and like, get on and work."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know yet.
Well, yeah, I suppose
It's
that's one of
like
the great things. You can always
part of me wants
delegate.
mm, like I have been using freelancers
Mm-hmm.
to do any bits that I can't do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's working out quite nicely because I don't like working a 9 till 5 routine. I like kind of getting up in the morning really early, starting, not really doing a lot in the afternoon, and then in the evening I do more work.
Mm-hmm.
So like having a team member and having like I've had interns where you have to be there for a certain time and leave at a certain time, and you're just like, oh, that is not the life that I want to live. So it's
Mm-hmm.
figuring out how you make your life work.
Yeah, no, I think for you it's just a case of finding team members and interns potentially in the future that fit that schedule. So don't try and mold your life and your work schedule to a team member or mold it to an intern that you've got on. You should, like if you've got a specific routine you like to follow, so you like to get up early, do work, have the afternoon chilled, and then work in the evening. If that's what you want to do, just mold that teammate around that. Like one idea off the
Mm,
top of my head is if they want to work a 9 to 5, okay, just schedule any meetings that you need for the day between the times that you're both working, and then just say like,
mm,
look, you can talk to me until 5 p.m. for argument's sake, but past 5 p.m. don't
mm.
talk to me. Like you can get on with the work from that point forward.
Yeah, yeah. It's figuring out, yeah, what work. Like I think like that for me, the business is so that I can have the life that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like figuring out how that works alongside other people. But yeah, I definitely I don't see myself ever having like a team that's in 9 till 5.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Because, like you say, at the end of the day, the point of having a business is to live the life you want, not to work
Mm,
9 to 5 or even more. Until very, very recently, I was working 16 hours a day, every single day, or at least 5 days a week anyway, and that is hell. Let me just tell you, so you're aware. Um,
yeah,
but
I am similar currently.
it's not fun, and I think like the shift I've made recently is working my work around my life rather than working my life around my work. And I think
Mm,
if you make that shift, I think that's what you need to then kind of start, start working the hours you want to work, having the freedom you want, doing the things you want to do. Um, and obviously then having a team member, I can only see that as a positive thing, because you'll have that extra free time. Like, yes, you've got to then deal with another person in the business, and you've got another step in like the decision making process. But I think ultimately it'd be a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially during lockdown as well, because obviously lockdown, you've got people that are going to be bored at home. Maybe they've been laid off their job, so I think now's a pretty good opportunity for it.
Yeah, that is true. I keep getting emails from people like, "Oh, are you hiring? Are you hiring? Are you hiring?" It's like, let me pay myself first.
Oh no, 100%. You don't want to. You don't want to end up giving your entire wage to an employee. You don't want to be in that kind of situation. So
Yeah, that's the struggle at the moment because I don't actually pay myself yet.
mm,
So it's like, do I really want to pay someone else before I pay myself? Not
no,
really.
that's a big struggle that I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through. Like, do you just put all your money straight back into the business? Do you start paying team members straight away? Because you actually, especially if it's all you're doing, like in terms of the business, you need to be able to live.
Mm,
So then it's kind of, because you're in control. When you first start a business, you think, oh great, I'm in control. I'm going to make millions every year. But then when it gets round to actually starting a business, you're then like, I forgot to pay myself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
you also mentioned that you wanted to release a new collection, and you're hopefully going to be releasing a new collection very soon. Would you like to tell us a bit about that and kind of where that inspiration came from, what it's going to be all about?
Yeah, so it is carrying on from my current collection.
Hmm.
So my best-selling um, collection, people have been asking like, "Oh, are you going to be releasing a different color?" Like everyone wanted blue. Like they were like, "Are you going to release it in blue?" So I was like, "Okay, well, I've been asked to release it in blue, so I'm going to do it in blue."
Hmm.
And I've had really good feedback, so I've done like sneak peeks of that. So that's coming out, and then I've still got like old fabric left over, so I'm going to try and use like I'm using that, but I'm kind of mixing up the designs. So it's still a bit boring because it's still the same. It's very similar to the previous collection, but I think like when you're starting out, it's like I'm more concerned about using what I've already got rather than like trying to create something completely new.
Yeah, especially when if you're a one-person band at this point, it's all about using every available resource, using every part of the cow, as one quote I've heard. Rather than
Yeah.
you can't really afford waste at this point. So, how do you come up with inspiration for your collections then? Does it just come to you, or do you look at other influences, or?
Well, for the current collection, which is moth themed, um, I left uni and I couldn't find a job for ages and I was really bored and I was waiting to join like this big business incubating program. So I had loads of time on my hands and I was like, right, I'm just going to start a sketchbook because that's my fate. I love drawing. And I was watching a David Attenborough documentary and I was like, okay, I'll draw some bugs. And I found this moth that I really liked and I drew that. And then when I was thinking about like what should I do for my first collection, I was like, oh well, I've got a sketchbook, it's full of drawings, so I might as well use that. So I just used that, and that's what I usually do. I kind of like my next one, I want to do some like something with bees and florals. And then like I've designed the one next, which is gonna be um like beach themed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm always inspired by nature, I guess.
Mm.
That's where
That's a good place to
I
find
just do,
inspiration.
yeah. Like I don't really like I never understood how people can get inspired by like man-made things. It just doesn't inspire me.
Mm. I think
So
especially when you're designing like lingerie, which has to look natural, I think it's difficult to find inspiration in man-made things, because man-made things by definition aren't natural. Like they're
yeah,
squares and sharp lines, whereas like nature is very like curved and very circular, very much
yeah,
like
exactly.
the women that would then be wearing the clothes. So it makes sense to take inspiration from nature.
Yeah.
Interesting then. So it literally just comes from you experiencing nature, drawing them, and then bringing them to life almost.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Yeah, start from drawing and then turn it into like a digital drawing.
Mm. So how does your mind work then? Is it very like organized and you just sort of you have an idea and you just sort of go with that one idea, or are you more like kind of like I am, which is I have a million different ideas, write everything on a page and then try and organize it? How does your mind work?
I think I'm more like, okay, I like that, I'll do it. Because when I was at uni, and I think loads of designers will say this, your teachers will always be like, right, design like 60 designs. And you've designed one, you love it, but you've still got to design 59 more. But then you always end up just making the first one that you originally liked anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like one of the things in business is like you've got to be decisive, haven't you? So
Yeah.
I think just go with that idea, get it done, because otherwise you're going to be faffing around for ages,
Mm.
and you don't have time to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just go with what I think initially.
Yeah. Go with that gut instinct immediately. I suppose it's not the
Yeah,
end of the world. Like if you end up doing it and it doesn't do so well, then you know what doesn't work, and then you can just learn for
yeah,
next time and so on. It's a bit weird that they suggest that you do 60 designs though, because that would give me option anxiety, and you just wouldn't know
yeah,
which one to pick, and you'd be paralysed.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You end up designing just for no reason. You're just
Mm,
like, oh, I've just got to like, and you don't care about it. I think like, yeah, your gut instinct when designing is you've just got to follow that.
mm. One thing that I've dealt with is having one idea that I absolutely love, and then the next week having another idea that I absolutely love, and then kind of getting sidetracked on that second idea. So, how do you kind of
Mm.
stop yourself falling in love with a second idea or second design if you have one, um, and like how do you stop yourself getting sidetracked from that first design you were creating?
Yeah, I'm currently in that process now because like this next collection, I'm a bit like, oh, do I love it? I'm not sure. That's another thing. Like once you've looked at a collection for so long, you're like, oh, do I even like it anymore?
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about the next collection and I'm like, oh, I just want to do the next collection now and I just want to get on, you know. Um, but then you have to remember you can't make the next collection unless you sell this first collection.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
I think yeah, you've just like I you know like that saying like you've got to enjoy the process rather than like getting to the goal.
Hmm.
And I'm always trying to like remember that, like remember kind of this day
Yeah.
rather than like
Enjoying the
wishing your
actual
life away.
creation process rather than wishing for that next collection to come through. So.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard,
Mm.
but yeah,
How
yeah, I try and remember that.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you keep high energy throughout a collection then? Like, how do you stay motivated? Because obviously, designing a collection, creating a collection, marketing the same collection is obviously a long process, and it's hard to keep highly
Mm.
energetic, highly motivated about something for longer than at least a month. So, how do you keep that high level of energy, that high level of motivation throughout?
I think for me, it was getting like different influencers to take pictures of them wearing it, and
Hmm.
you see it in a different kind of light. So like everyone will present the collection in a different way, and I think that's what keeps it interesting. Like it's interesting to see how people perceive it, like what's their idea of it.
Hmm. So,
Um, and yeah, it's weird. Like I've had the same collection for over a year, and I don't feel that like bored with it,
hmm.
which is bizarre. I don't know why.
I suppose it's exciting seeing your clothes, your lingerie in the real world. Then, like say on models, seeing it actually making people happy and sort of getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you've always got new customers, or there are people that will find you on Instagram. So like someone was saying to me, "Oh, I want to start a blog, but I don't have a lot of money and it means that I can't keep posting new things." And I was like, "Well, that doesn't matter because you might have like the first following, they'll follow you, but then you'll have more people that will follow you and it's new to them. They don't know that you've been like showing that off for a year.
Mm.
So it's always going to be interesting to new people."
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like you say, it's new to them, it's fresh to them, even if it's existed for a long time.
Yeah.
Hmm. As far as I understand it, and obviously like I say, I'm not in the industry, but as far as I understand it, what makes lingerie brands and lingerie successful in general is how it makes the models and the people buying it feel. So it needs to make
Mhm.
them feel confident. It needs to make them feel, beautiful, sexy, however you want, kind of want them to be perceived. So how do you go about designing and creating lingerie that actually achieves that?
Ooh, interesting. Um, I don't know, to be honest. I guess I just design what I like and then hope for the best. And I also have like three sisters as well, and like my mum. So I'm always like, oh, what do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And getting other people's opinions on it first, I think.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
makes
don't
sense.
really know.
No, I know it's a difficult one because there's so many different types of people out there. There's so many different tastes. So I guess it must be hard to try and appeal to everybody, like trying to appeal to all those different tastes. So is that what you do? Do you do what you like and basically appeal to that market that also has similar taste to you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like, it's actually quite bad when I think about it. I designed the first collection. I went ahead with manufacturing. I didn't even think about if people were going to like it or not. I just went, yeah, I like it. Everyone else will like it. And luckily, people do like it. I think you're always going to find people that like it and don't like it, aren't you? So,
Oh yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Especially if it's your taste. Like it's very very rare that there's something in the world that only you like. Like there will be other people, even if it's a small minority. Um, like I said, I'd
Yeah,
be surprised.
exactly.
I'd be surprised if you designed a piece of clothing that just because you like it and nobody liked it. That would be very surprising.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I do always worry because like when influencers do Instagram polls
Hmm.
and they'll have a piece of clothing and you can choose like, do you like it or do you not? And my opinion is always like in the least, like is always in the minority. And I'm like, how am I a designer when I never like the majority vote? But maybe that's the good thing about it. Maybe
Mm.
because like I've got a different kind of thought process, maybe
Well,
that kind of helps.
it says on your website, your whole point is to help women stand out, and obviously, your kind of opinions and your like tastes in terms of lingerie obviously reflect that you are very much against the grain. But it does take
Mm.
a lot of gall to actually like go against the grain. Like it's not something most people do because obviously it's going against what most people do. So how do you kind of deal with the anxiety that a lot of entrepreneurs deal with about doing nothing, like doing something that nobody else is doing, going against what everyone is saying?
I think like it's just part of my personality. Like I was always like it. I was always like, oh, like I don't own jeans or a t-shirt or anything like that because I'm like, everyone's got jeans and a t-shirt. And and like I don't know, when I was a teenager, especially, I'd always be like, oh, I didn't care. Like I'd always wear weird clothes, and I wanted people to look at me, and I didn't care if it was because they liked it or they hated it. It was to get like a reaction
Mm-hmm.
rather than just like blending in.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, yeah, like I've always been that way. If loads of people like it, then I'll be like, no, I don't like it. And if people are like, no, I don't like it, then I'm like, oh, I like it. That's just like part of my personality, I think.
Fair enough. I can't imagine that's good for your bank account or your wardrobe, constantly changing things based on what's happening in the world. But I mean, it's pretty. I mean, I can imagine it's good for an entrepreneur because being an entrepreneur in and of itself is not something that's done. It's not popular. It's not cool. It's just a very small minority of people actually start their own businesses, especially as young as like you or me. It's crazy
Mm,
when you actually think about it. Like it's something that shocks me every time because I'm obviously friends with a lot of entrepreneur types, so I kind of worked on the assumption, oh, everyone my age wants to start a business. But with the exception of like there's like you, I've got like I said, a few of my mates, but then you actually go out into the wider kind of world and you actually speak to people. They're just like, no, I just want to get a 9 to 5. I just want to work my whole life and then go into retirement. And it's like
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
wants to start a business.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like I've got one friend pretty much, that wants to start their own business,
Hmm.
and that's it. Like most people I know, most of my friends are 9 till 5 people,
Hmm.
which is like really difficult because you try and explain to people what it's like, and it's like they're never gonna understand, are
Yeah,
they?
no, 100%. You talk to people who don't want to start a business about the problems you're having, and it's just like you're speaking a foreign language. They turn around and say, "Oh, what do you mean you've got
Yeah,
problems? You basically do no work." I got told that so many times. They say, "Oh, Jordan doesn't work. He does no work." It's like, are you joking? I work
yeah, I
16
know.
hours a day.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same. It's like just because I'm not earning any money doesn't mean I'm not working.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's
That's
like
another
we're
thing. Yeah.
actually harder workers because
Yeah.
we're working for no money.
Exactly, yeah. Like, okay, fine, you're maybe not making profit from it. Like, a lot of businesses don't make profit in the first year. It's just, like, that's just how it is. And they just equate, okay, you're not making any profit, so you must do no work. And it's like, no, that is not how that works at all. And nobody will understand it until they've started their own business.
Mm, yeah, definitely.
So how do you kind of deal with that then? Because like I mean, I've experienced it, and it can get very kind of lonely almost if you have nobody to talk to about the problems because they don't understand it, um, and even if they try and understand it, they just don't. So how do you kind of deal with almost that loneliness that comes with that?
Um, I guess I'm quite lucky that I can still talk to like my friends and family about it. Um, and they might not understand, but it's still good. Like sometimes when you talk a problem
Hmm.
through, rather than going like in your head all the time, but actually saying it out loud, you figure the answer out usually.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'll be like, "Oh God, I don't know what to do," and blah blah blah, and then I'm like, "Oh, I've just figured it out." Now that I've said it out loud,
yeah.
I think, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know how you overcome the loneliness.
Mm.
I think when I've had times of like desperation, I've usually seeked out like a mentor
Hmm.
and someone that's been in the industry, like talk to them about it. I think, yeah, like maybe that's a way to overcome it is actually like finding a mentor and
Mm.
talking to them about it.
No, 100%. I think you need a mentor to succeed in business because, like, at the end of the day, I came into business and I thought, oh, great, I know plenty. Like, I know loads about business, I know loads about my industry, I'm going to kill it. Then I started a business and I do not know a lot about starting a business at all. Um, so, yeah, having mentors definitely helps. I've also found, I don't know if you've experienced this, but since starting a business and since talking about my business a lot more and talking about this way of life, as I'm going to call it, this religion
Mm.
of entrepreneurship, I've had like my circle of friends has got a lot smaller because there's some people that just don't want to hear about it, they're just not interested. Have you kind of experienced
Mm.
that, or have your friends been a lot more supportive than mine were?
Mine have been really supportive.
Hmm.
Um, and like I guess my friend, like one of my friend, well, a few of my friends actually have said to me like, "Oh, we want to start a business like next year." So I think they kind of like are inspired
Hmm.
by me doing it.
Oh, that's good.
Um, yeah, they've been supportive, but the thing is as well, like my friends live all around the country,
Hmm.
so it's not like I see them very often. So when I do, I don't think they care. Like I don't think I actually really talk to them much about the business unless they ask me about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're usually really supportive. Like, and they'll give me advice as well about different things that I haven't thought about. So like my friend's a salesman, and he said to me, "Do you want me to ring a few lingerie boutiques and ask if they stock your stuff?" I was like, "That's a really good idea." So he was like ringing them up, like, "Oh, do you stock Posie?" And I was like, "Yeah." So that helped like get my name out there a bit.
Hmm.
So sometimes people in different fields that aren't necessarily entrepreneurs, they can give you little bits of advice that are different to what you would be thinking.
Oh, 100%. Especially if you've got a salesman friend, like they're just a pure closer. That is unreal. Like it's unreal how much you can get back. Like I know you don't become friends with them with the thought of you can sell my stuff, obviously. But like I've got a good friend who's like
Yeah.
not pure closer, but he's like, I would say an expert closer, and he just literally calls me up, and he just says, hey mate, I'm bored today. Do you want me to go out and sell your services? Like, just go and message a bunch of people, try and close for you. I was like, yeah, sure
Oh,
thing.
that's so
Yeah,
good.
it's great to have, especially with someone who's really enthusiastic about it. So,
Yeah. And does it work?
yeah, it does actually. Yeah, because like I say, he's a really really effective closer. He knows what he's doing.
Mm.
For the most part, he actually promotes clubs, but it's the same sort of concept. So,
Yeah.
how about you? Has it worked with you?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I couldn't, when we were talking about it, I was like, oh, I can't think off the top of my head. But like as soon as he rang them, they like start following me on Instagram, and
So that's at least
so
exposure.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it does work. I mean, there's not many lingerie boutiques in the UK,
Hmm.
so it's a bit more difficult to approach people like that. But yeah, it did work.
Could you get into? I don't know how this works, but could you get into like a mainstream like lingerie brand? Like I don't know whether like brands like Ann Summers, do they stock independent brands or do they only stock their own designs?
They only stock their own designs, or they will stock your, I think they can take your design, but then they say that it's theirs and you can't then sell it as your own.
Which is obviously not ideal because you obviously don't. You want your credit. You want credit for your designs.
Yeah. And I've thought about like approaching larger retail stores, but I think at this stage, like it would be too much for me to take on,
Yeah,
and I don't want to grow too quickly. I'd rather kind of get there slowly because I think I know from like brands that I follow, they've gone from like nothing to like overnight. They've grown massively, and then they run into so many problems that they weren't expecting, and it causes delays, and it just it's too stressful.
yeah, I get you. It's better to take it slow, build it up slowly, and get the structure in place before you then grow. Because like you
Yeah,
say, a lot of brands and businesses they don't plan for growth, and then they grow and they grow massively, and then they're just stuck there with like they've gone from like a let's say like next to making no money, and now they're running like a six-figure business, and they're just like, well, what do
yeah,
I do now? Now I need teams. Now I need COOs, CEOs. I need
yeah,
structure, and it's like you can't. It's really difficult to create it after. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So are you working on creating the structure now? Then is that what you're kind of focused on?
Yeah, so I've got a few websites that are gonna be like they do drop shipping.
Hmm.
So I've got three of those. So two, I've got one now and then two in the new year. They're gonna put my stuff on their website, but then I still have like control of all the stock and everything. Um, and then I'm talking to a few boutiques at the moment
Hmm.
that would like to stock my stuff. And I think for the new year that will be like enough
Hmm.
to take on, and then hopefully like reevaluate for the next collection, taking that a step further and just building it like that way, like quite slowly.
Hmm.
But yeah, like definitely building the structure now of how I want everything to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Real quick before I continue, do you need to head off, or are you cool to stay on for a bit?
I'm cool to stay.
Okay, cool. Have you considered starting your own boutique, like stop, like having your own Posie Lingerie boutique in like Leicester or some surrounding area?
Yeah. I do in the future. I actually used to work at High Cross
Hmm.
as like a customer service, like in the customer service team. And I knew by working there that retail is dead. Like no one goes shopping anymore.
Hmm.
And they offered me a shop there, and it was ridiculously expensive. And I thought, there's no way that I would sell enough stock, and like all the things that you'd have to buy, like coat hangers and tills and everything,
Mm.
it just wouldn't be worth it at this point. But definitely in the future, I would love to have my own boutique and people come in and have cups of tea and cake, and we'll just have a little bra fitting.
Mm.
Like that is a dream, but I think the whole like landscape of retail needs to like dramatically change. And I was talking to my sister about it yesterday because obviously the Arcadia group are like struggling, and like Topshop might be shutting down and Debenhams is shutting down.
Yeah.
Um, and I was saying nobody wants to go shopping anymore. You go to every single city, it's exactly the same shops, it's really boring, you can get it online. But imagine if you went shopping and it was all independent stores and every single city was different and you didn't know what you were going to get. You didn't feel guilty for buying things. You felt good about buying things because you're buying from someone's independent business.
Mm.
I'm hoping that it will go that way. And if it does go that way, then yeah, like I'd love to have a boutique.
100%. Well, when I go clothes shopping, it's very much I don't go to like you don't even need to go to try on clothes anymore because you've got all the like you've got size guides or there's even apps where you can like put in your measurements and then you can almost try the clothes on through the app. So you don't even need to go in to try clothes on.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I would go into a shop physically rather than just buying online would be for the experience. So like having a member of staff there that can come in and tell you what colour would work best with you, with your skin
Mm.
tone, sorry, what kind of size would fit best for you, what kind of fit would work best for your body type. And I think for you especially, that would be the way to go. So don't just have a retail store. Have like you said, like a boutique that you have specialists who know what they're talking about, and they can say, oh, based on your skin tone, body type, height, all this sort of stuff, you can you should go for this collection or this size or this style. And I think that kind of personalised experience rather than just buying the clothes is the route, like the way to go, basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. Like, I never imagine to have a shop where people just come in, get on and like find whatever they want and just try it on. Like, for me, it would be like, let's sit down, have a conversation. What are you buying it for?
Hmm.
Like, you know, is it for a special occasion or whatever?
Mm.
And having that very like personal
Yeah.
experience.
I think when I think like because obviously you describe your brand as the like luxury lingerie brand, and I think when I think
Mm,
luxury, I don't just think go buy clothes. I think you have a consultation, you talk about all these things. You like it's like for me it would be buying a suit in the same sort of way as you go. You have a consultation. They talk about all the different measurements, the styles. So I would assume it's the same for lingerie, and I think that's definitely a good direction to go in.
yeah.
And especially at this point, because obviously if it's you at this point, you know your brand inside and out, and obviously I would assume you have a pretty good understanding of what works with certain body types and certain skin tones and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't want to get too graphic, but like, there's lots of things about boobs that people don't know.
Hmm.
So, like, different styles working for their body shape,
Hmm.
which I learned all about at uni, and I didn't know this, and I don't think anyone knows that like certain styles won't fit you. They won't suit you if you've got like a narrow, like you get narrow boobs or like wide boobs, and each style relates to that.
Mm.
Or I've noticed that certain styles, like people have to size up in one style so that it fits their certain, like it's called a breast root,
Mm.
which is like the underneath it where the wire sits.
Hmm.
So it all depends on like who you are as a person. It's not just like this is the size that you're going to fit into it, or like this is the brand. Like each brand is created differently for different types of boobs.
Mm. No, obviously, you say like there's types of boobs. I mean, I'm cool to talk about boobs on this. So like obviously I understand like boobs look different, like they're different shapes and sizes. But what do you mean by like
Yeah.
specific types of boobs then? Like I just thought boobs are boobs. You've got different cup sizes and different like chest sizes.
Yeah, so if you imagine like some people's boobs will be really like quite central and like perky, or you've
Hmm.
got boobs that are like quite to the side, so they're like a lot under like the arm that need like
Hmm.
pulling forwards. Now, like depending on those types of things, like how your boobs fall as such, depends on like which style would suit you.
Hmm.
So like if your boobs are quite like to the side, then wearing a plunge that pushes them together can mean that you like bulge out because that's not how your boobs naturally go.
Hmm.
So I would say for people like that, like they would size up in a plunge style and
Okay.
they would suit more of like a full cup style. But if you've got like I've noticed if you've got smaller boobs that are like quite pert, then a plunge style is usually like the preferred one because your boobs are naturally in that place, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, I suppose it's not something I really think about. So,
No, and women don't. And I think it's something like 80% of women are wearing the wrong bra size.
mm.
Nobody understands the sizing system. So yeah, it's really it's confusing for like everyone.
Do you think maybe the sizing system needs a revamp then? Because, like I said, the only thing I understand about the sizing system is that you have a cup size and then is it like a chest size, and that's all. Like that's it. That's as far as I thought it went. So,
Yeah.
do you think it
So
needs like what does it need to fit?
yeah, like I always thought like when I started my brand, maybe I should change it to
Mm.
make it feel more sense. But then I thought, will that confuse people even further that they've then got a different sizing system to have to deal with? I think the whole industry would need to like revamp the system, and then obviously in different countries, their size differently as well.
Yeah.
So it's even more confusing. And if you go to a different country, their size, like there's not only will their sizing be named a different thing, but how they're measured is also different. So it's even more
Mm.
confusing.
No, I'm aware that like sizing is different in different countries. I'm pretty sure, just as far as like men's clothing, I'm aware that like America's sizes are bigger. Japanese clothing, like super dry, is way smaller. So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I could be like a triple XL, for example, in super dry, but just be a medium in American like brands. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Could
Yeah,
one possible option? Could you go down like the really like specific route, like for like your sizing? Because for me
mm,
personally, XL, medium, like large means nothing. Could you just
yeah,
go down the route of like these are the specific measurements of the clothing, and that's the only way you measure your clothes, rather than just saying here's a one size fits all XL bra, for example?
yeah. So on my like size guide on my website, so my sizes are extra small, extra small,
Hmm.
small, medium, large, extra large. But if you go on the size guide, it actually gives you three different bra sizes that fit into each bra
Hmm.
because I've got an adjustable sizing system on the back, which means each bra will fit three different sizes. But
Hmm.
then I've also got all of the different country sizes as well.
Okay, so you can easily like look at it and convert it to whatever country you're in.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
would love to make like a sizing calculator.
Mm.
But I have no idea how to make one of those.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that might have to be a case of getting a like a developer to actually program that for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Could it work? Like you've obviously touched on that there's different types of boobs. Could you try and categorize the types of boobs and then just say like, if you have this type of boob, click here, and here's the sizing for you. Like I don't know I don't know how you describe it, but you could have like the boobs that stick out, sticky out boobs, for example, come to this section. Here's the sizes for you. Here's the styles for you. Could you do it
yeah,
like that?
yeah. Like if I knew how to make a calculator, I think I could definitely like go into way more depth about which size would fit you.
Mm. I mean, to be fair, one workaround. I don't think you would even need a calculator. You could just because like on I don't know what web platform you're doing, like what web design platform you're using, but for most of them, like, I use Wix, and you can easily just put in, you know, you can have like a drop down menu and say like choose
Mm.
your style, choose your I don't know like cup size, chest size, and then you can just show specific pages based on that rather than going down the route of like
Yeah,
calculators and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah. I definitely need to like work on that when I've got some spare
No,
time.
that's fair. I completely understand. Obviously, it's very difficult time to sort of start trying new things and start innovating with stuff like that. But I think going down the route of like what boob type are you is a good way to do it because I've never seen that, and obviously, like I just sort of demonstrated, I don't understand or didn't understand that, and I'm
Yeah,
sure a lot of women don't understand that. So,
yeah.
um,
I saw a Facebook post, and it was an article written, and it was like, "What are men's favorite breast size?"
mm,
And it said D, and I was like, "But D is different." So like, it doesn't act. all A's aren't the same, all B's aren't the same, all D, like that's not how it works. So it actually works with the band size first. So say you're a 32 band, which is what you are around,
Yeah.
then you then go up in the cups. So you go, am I A, B, C, D?
Okay.
So if you're a 34, then so if you're a 32D and a 34D, they are different sizes. They're not the same.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very confusing. And when I saw that article, and I thought, well, a D in a 32, 36, 38, etc.
Yeah.
are completely different breast sizes. So you can't say that you like a certain cup size because all the cup sizes are different.
You need to say cup size and the band size.
Yeah, yeah,
So, would a
yeah.
like, would a new sizing system work if instead of you having the cup size and the bra size separately, you just had a single size? So, for example, you have size 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Size 1 equates to 32A. Size 2 equates to 34A, and it just kind of works like that. Like, I don't know, but could that work?
Mm. It could. Well, I don't know. I don't know if people would. I guess they'd still have to work out
Yeah, I
the
suppose.
band size and the cup size.
I don't think it bodes well that you've had to literally sit and explain how the sizing system works, and I'm not even like I'm not even needing to buy this stuff, and you've still had to like explain the process for how it works. That's not a good thing, I don't think.
No, no, and like I say, most women don't have a clue either. And I see, like my sister, she was wearing this bra, and I said, "Can you try on a bra for me?" And she had this other bra on. And I went, "What the hell are you wearing?" I was like, "Can't you tell that doesn't fit you?" And she went, "What? What do you mean?" And I went, "Look how baggy it is on you. It's massive." I was like, "That doesn't fit you." And I put one of my bras on her and I was like, "This is the size you should be wearing." And she was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe I've been wearing the wrong bra size and I didn't know." And I was like, "You're uncomfortable." Like, I think people are uncomfortable and they just don't know how to like go about finding the correct size.
So, like with bras, obviously, you like we're kind of recently seeing a trend of you've got the bras that are just kind of stick to your boobs. You've got bras that have the zip in the middle. You've got bras that don't have wiring. Is that the wrong way to go about it then? Is it just a case of educating women on what kind of bras they should be wearing?
Maybe. I think like stick-on bras and stuff, they've got like a different function. Like, therefore, obviously, if you want to wear a backless dress or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think the like one of the things that I've noticed is like soft cut bras, which are like obviously way more comfortable to wear. People that have like bigger boobs are really scared to wear them.
Mm.
And actually, if they find the right size, they'll realize that actually a soft cup can be like quite supportive.
Mm.
But yeah, like you shouldn't be uncomfortable in a wide bra. Like it,
I suppose
if
because
you're wearing.
all I ever hear from like women that I talk to is just like bras are uncomfortable. They want to get rid of bras, or they like a lot of them just like if they've got smaller boobs, just don't to just choose not to wear bras because they're that
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Mm,
That's all you hear. Like if I think bra, I just think oh woman complaining about the underwiring, woman complaining about the strap being uncomfortable, about it being too tight,
mm,
being too loose, being too baggy, being too every complaint under the sun. So
yeah, yeah. It's
mm,
because they're wearing the wrong size.
mm, yeah, that makes sense. No, fair enough. What are your thoughts on like obviously there's I don't want to call it a trend, but there's like a positive trend that I'm going to call where lingerie brands are appealing and appealing more to women with like larger cup sizes, larger band sizes, women
Mhm.
of different sizes, different body types. Like what do you think? Like where do you think this is going to go? Like do you think it's a good thing that this is happening? Because obviously before one of the biggest examples I can think of is women with smaller cup sizes like D and below are the ones who have like the really pretty lingerie,
Mm,
and women above that sort of struggle to find lingerie that's both comfortable and looks nice. So
yeah.
what is your kind of view on that, especially with your business? Like, are you going to be like appealing to the larger cup sizes, larger women in the future more, and you're going to
Mm.
be pushing for that?
Yeah, I definitely want to. But like, I think people don't ever think of it. Like, a lot of people will message me like, when are you going to make stuff for bigger people?
Mm.
And they get really insulted that like I haven't got like bigger sizes. But the issue that I face is when you buy a piece of fabric, typically like an embroidery, it will come like that. So if you're making it for larger sizes, you need to completely change the design of the bra
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the pieces will fit on the fabric.
Okay.
Um, so it is something I want to do in the future, but I think I need another person on my team that could
Specialise in that.
specifically, yeah, because it is a specialist area. I get people message me about it. Like I had someone email me yesterday saying, "Oh, I want to start a brand, but my factory don't make bigger sizes. Can you advise me what to do?" And it's like, well, I can, but
Mm.
that's not my area.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to make a bra that, wasn't perfect for bigger boobs. But there's so many brands now that make bras for people with bigger boobs.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Uh, like yeah, my friends, like one of my friends that works in industry, she designs that, so she'll only design bigger bras. She doesn't design, their company don't do small bras.
Mm.
So it's definitely changing, and it's a positive change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I like one of the biggest examples I've sort of seen is Rihanna's brand. Is it called Savage X Fenty, I believe?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that's one of the biggest things that I've seen. Like it's been blowing up on my Twitter. Don't know why it's been on my Twitter, but anyway, yeah, I've been seeing it all over my Twitter, and like even like men, there's like men's sizings for bigger men or men with what would be considered like weird body shapes. Not the classic triangle
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
classic V. And I think it's
Hmm.
it's a positive thing because like I don't by any means have a V-shaped body. I'm not like fucking ripped and all this sort of stuff. So it's if that's all you're seeing, it's kind of like, well, does this work for me? Does it fit me? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely a positive movement.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I get like my last photo shoot that I did, the model ended up dropping out at last minute,
Mm.
and I messaged my photographer like, I don't know what to do. This keeps happening. The models keep like flaking out on me at the last minute. And she said, "Don't worry, we'll find someone." And she found someone. She wasn't a model. She was just a normal person. And we used her, and that got really positive feedback because people were like, "Thank you for using like a normal
Not a
person."
model. Mm.
I don't know what, I don't like the word normal, like,
Yeah, I get you.
or people keep saying a real body, and it's like everyone has a real body, like,
Mm.
but for someone that I think she was like a 10, 12, she was just an average, I suppose, rather
Yeah.
than like really thin.
Yeah.
People seem to appreciate more like diverse body shapes now.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you've got when you say like obviously when you say like normal average, it's just kind of somebody who hasn't spent or doesn't spend their life basically focused on getting their body to look good. Pretty much is because that's what a
Yeah.
model does. Basically, they spend their time focusing on looking good. Like they'll eat the right foods, they'll work out like pretty much all day. Some of them, and they'll spend
Mm.
hours just focused on that. But the truth is, and the honest answer is that most people can't do that. Like you don't have time to
Yeah.
spend your life just focused on what your body looks like. You can eat
Mm.
healthy, you can schedule in an hour's workout every other day. You can do things, but you can never hope to attain the level of attractiveness almost, or like physical goodness, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word,
Yeah.
that a model can, because that's their job, that's their life, that's how they make a living, and you're never going to be as good as somebody who can do that. It's as simple as.
Yeah. Definitely.
So are you moving now more towards using non-models for your like photo shoots?
Um, I still want to use models simply because they know how to move, they know how to work the camera.
Yeah,
Um, but I am definitely looking to be more diverse, and not just like body wise, but like different races as well.
Hmm.
Like, I guess I knew that I should use different races, but I always think that I tried to find people that I related to.
Mm.
So I think that's a natural thing that
Oh
I've
yeah.
learned, is like we're always looking for people that are similar to us. We're inspired by people that look like us.
Mm.
Um, and now I've realized actually that's like a wrong thing to do.
Mm.
So my next collection definitely need to be diverse in like every kind of asset, like even age. I always go for people that are like a similar age to me,
Hmm.
but I think, yeah, and I think a lot of the industry need to do that as well. We all need to like think about, there's not just, the 20 something skinny white people.
Oh no, 100%. Women of all ages, shapes, races, religions want, they want underwear for whatever, whether it's sexy underwear or just casual underwear, they need it.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm always kind of torn on when it comes to diversification is, obviously it's a good thing, and obviously you need that diversity in any brand, whether it's a lingerie brand, a fashion brand, or whether it's just a business like mine. And it's a good thing, but I always feel torn with people that go out specifically and look for people just because they meet that criteria. And I'm
Mm.
always torn between it because, like you say, naturally you're always going to pick people that just you can relate to.
Mm.
Like for me, if I'm finding people that I relate to, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, it's going to be a white straight man. Not
Yeah.
always, I have friends in multiple different walks of life, but
Mm.
that's just who I am. It's who I meld best with, just because we've got the same experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm always now torn between, do I go with what I'm what I kind of relate to most in the face of risking that I don't have any diversity, or do you go down the route of making a point of looking for people to meet the criteria, but then I feel that's just as wrong as like not hiring people or not working with people because of that diversity, and I just feel
Yeah.
it's just like you're kind of stuck in purgatory and you don't know really what to do with it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I noticed one brand, as soon as the Black Lives Matter thing came out, um, they just started posting black models like
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
And it was a bit like, I it feels fake,
Mm.
but also at the same time, even if it is fake, eventually it's going to become normal, which is a good thing anyway.
Oh yeah, hundred
So
percent.
even if brands are doing it for the wrong reasons, they are literally just doing it for like the money, basically.
Mm.
It is bad, but at the same time, it's like the younger generations will always be brought up seeing the diversity, so it will be good eventually. But yeah, it's a hard line to draw.
No, I suppose yeah. In the like say in the long run, it is going to be good because it will become just the done thing. And I suppose, as with every new trend, you kind of go really really far in one direction. So we're probably going to enter a point where only black models or only diverse models are hired, and then
Mm,
it will kind of level out, I suppose, after a while.
yeah.
Like ideally, like I'm very much like when I'm hiring for my business, I'm very much going to not even like look at race. Like if as long as it's not illegal, I'm basically just going to say right, I'm not going to care about the diversification element, like the laws and stuff. I'm just going
Mm,
to like if you're the best at the job, regardless of
mm,
whether you're black, white, gay, straight, female, male, I'm going to hire you, or even like even as far as like trans, any whatever your personal sexuality, gender is, I'm going to hire you if you're the best at the job because I'm
mm,
very much I don't care what gender you are, I don't care what race, religion, it doesn't matter to me. Just
mhm.
be good at your job and do what I pay you to do.
Yeah.
But then I'm obviously then at risk as if, just for argument's sake, none of my employees happen to be gay, just chance that
Mhm.
everybody that applied for the job wasn't. I'm then at risk of being called homophobic,
Yeah.
but it's not me
Yeah.
being homophobic, it's just me choosing who's best for that job. So,
Mhm.
like, how would you kind of get about avoiding that? Or, like, because I'm lost, I don't know what to do with that.
No, I don't either. I have thought about this.
Mm,
Um, and like on my course, um, I think we had one black girl on our course, and that
mm-hmm,
was it. Everyone else was white, and there was 70 people. So the people that are going into like my industry are predominantly white females.
mm-hmm,
I'm not sure how you do get around that. And especially, I hate this this new thing that like people keep saying like, "Oh, Posie, you're doing it for the women." Like, "Oh, you're a woman-led business.
mm,
We've got an all-women team," and it's like
yeah,
that's not good.
no,
That's like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like, it's great that I can be a female entrepreneur, but at the same time, that has nothing to do with like what I'm about.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't like the idea of people saying that they have like a all woman business. Like, isn't that
mm.
just like going against what we're fighting for, which
Yeah,
is equality?
that's one of, yeah, that's what you say. Like it should be a fight for equality, but with some feminists as one example, not just feminists by any means, but like movements for races, movements for religions, movements for gender, sexuality. There's always that group of people that they take it like too far, and it doesn't become a
Mm,
case of equality. It becomes a case of like one group, that minority, being better than everybody else. And I think
mm,
that's a big risk. Like you say, there's plenty of brands and businesses I see out there that celebrate the fact that they only, for example, marketing agencies, they only do the marketing for women-led businesses. And it's like,
yeah.
if you want to do that, by all means do that. But I
Mm,
find it wrong that they can say that they only work with female, like women-led businesses. But if I was to come out and say, right, I'm only going to work with male-led businesses, which I
yeah.
wouldn't do because I mean, like, there's no benefit to doing that. Um,
Mm,
like, if I was to say that though and go
mhm.
down that route, I would be like, I would be crucified for that. I would not be in business for longer than a week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like,
That's what I think.
it's inequality again. It's going like I know that like there's minorities that have been oppressed for thousands of years. I understand that, but the answer to justifying that and rectifying that isn't then creating inequality for the groups that are the majority.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's a hard one.
no, it's something I think about because I'm obviously not like employing people right now, but when I do, that's going to be a big problem because I
Yeah.
flat out refuse to make sure I meet certain criteria of hiring people, but then I risk getting called homophobic and racist and sexist, and I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard.
Oh yeah, no, it's not fun, but I suppose it's just something we'll hopefully it sorts itself out over time, and hopefully it gets easier.
Yeah.
One other thing then that I wanted to kind of big thing that I wanted to touch on is obviously right now you're kind of designing everything, you're marketing a business, you're trying to get in all these boutiques, you're also part of DMU Crucible right now, so you've got a bunch of stuff on your plate. On top of having a life, how do you manage your time so that you don't end up working all the time, or you don't, I don't know, get sidetracked and you don't get just confused and lost in the mess that is life?
Uh, good question. I still, I'm still terrible for like absolutely working flat out and getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think recently, something that I've been working on is a book that I've been reading called The Miracle Morning.
Mhm.
And it's basically about taking the first hour of your day and like giving it to yourself.
Mhm.
Um, which I'm still struggling to do. Like I struggle to do that, but I have been doing it more. So like it's about getting up and like reading or doing something that you enjoy.
Mhm.
And also like every Sunday, my favorite thing to do is go for like a really big long walk
Mhm.
on my own with just my music in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my like time to
Chill.
decompress
Yeah.
and get that like energy out of me.
No, 100%. I'm kind of the same. Like at weekends, I always go on a long walk. Actually, every morning now, I've started going on a walk for like half an hour to an hour, because it just clears my head, ready for the day, and then you can just get into work straight away.
Yeah.
And if it, like, one thing that I kind of, because I've recently made the change, like I said, I was working 16 hours a day, like non-stop. I wasn't eating lunch, and I was eating dinner usually at like the desk while working, which isn't good. I very recently made the change to work less, but sort of structure my days better so that I have more free time, more self-care time, and also more self-development time, so I can actually work on building my skills and, you know, improve
Hmm.
as a person. And one of the big things that I was struggling with when I made that change was having the faith that I would be able to get everything done, and like having the faith,
Yeah,
knowing
yeah.
that right, I can still get the work I need to done. Going from, because I've gone from working 16 hours a day to working 7 hours a day.
Oh,
So
damn.
right now I'm working 7 hours a day. Yeah, don't get me wrong,
Mm.
I'm still doing like 6 hours of like the self-care, self-development kind of stuff. So I finish work at 7 p.m, but I'm now
Mm.
able to finish work flat 7 p.m every day, and like have 3 hours at the end of the night to just chill and do what I want to do.
Yeah,
And like one of the biggest things for me was the anxiety of thinking, well, if I go down, like if I'm halving my work time, is my business going to just crash and burn? Like, am I just going to flop? And I can tell you from like doing it myself that it actually doesn't. I've been able to get more done in 7 hours than I do in the 16 hours or did in the 16 hours, which is crazy to
yeah,
think about.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I've noticed that as well.
mm,
Um, and I also work every day. So I work Monday to Friday in the afternoons. So I actually only have the morning really, and then
yeah,
maybe an hour or two at the end of the day to
mm,
get work done. And I find because you've got that smaller window, you're more focused because
yeah,
you're like, right, I need to get this done rather than going like I before I'd be like, oh, I'll just have a break and I'll just watch like a bit of Netflix and then I'll do that and I'll do this job and it was not focused enough. Whereas when you've got limited time, you're like, right, what is the most important thing to get done
100%. Yeah.
and work like that. Yeah.
I know some people work best doing like an hour of work and then they have a half an hour break and then like structure it like that. Like my schedule at the moment, I'll happily show you like sort of after we finish recording. My schedule very much now is I do like probably an hour to 2 hours of work and then I have like, for example, if I have lunch, I have an hour of lunch and then I have an hour of self-development, and it's just breaking up the day a lot more nicely. Like I said, I'll show you after this call, just to sort of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. But it is definitely helps. Like, I'm happier working less and I'm getting more work done.
Mm.
I've recently bought a book called The 4 Hour Work Week, and that
Oh yeah.
basically talks about having the freedom to not work all the time.
Mm.
You said you work every day. Do you work weekends as well then, Saturday and Sunday, or
No, no, just Monday to Friday.
good decision? I used to work Saturdays as well, and having Sundays off, I would get to Sunday and be knackered. So then I would lay in bed until like 11, and then that's half
Mm.
the day gone. So wouldn't even get half a day of actual chill time, downtime.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you kind of propose that like entrepreneurs, like from your perspective, actually realise when they're working too much and actually try and make these changes? Because a lot of them just obviously get burnt out, have panic attacks, get hospitalised in some cases. Like, how do you make that realisation before that point, and then reschedule your time?
I can't give that advice because I still do it.
Fair enough.
Like last week, and you know when we did that video call the other day,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd been up since 2:30 that day because I was
Jesus.
worrying about like not about the video but just about the business.
Jesus.
And I was going through like that week was real burnout week, and
Yeah.
I've only just got back into like my sleeping pattern.
Mm.
So I'm probably not the best because I get to the point of burnout and I go, right, I need to change my life. I need to do this. And then I get all this energy again and I'm like, no, I can't waste all this energy. I've got to get stuff
Yeah.
done. And then it just goes in a massive cycle. So yeah, I'm probably not the best person to ask, to be honest.
Fair enough. I think, like, when you obviously, I completely understand what you mean. When you've got lots of energy, you're kind of like, well, I don't know when I'm next going to have this level of energy, so should I use it all? And I think it's kind of weird way of looking at it. But if you don't use all that energy at that point, it kind of lasts longer. So like, if you feel
Yeah.
really high energy and then you're still like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to chill out. then the next day you've still got some of that energy reserve left, and actually you have more of it because you've not just used it all up in one kind of
Yeah.
go. And that's kind of what I'm noticing more. Like because I'm taking this time off, it's like a battery. Like my time down is obviously charging that battery, so it lasts a lot longer. So
Yeah. That's what, like, because I'm gonna be leaving my job in the new year.
yeah,
So in January, I'll be leaving my job, and I think once I reclaim that 5 hours that I'm at work, that can be time that I take,
is that
for
5 hours a
myself.
week or 5 hours a day?
5 hours a day.
5 hours. So you're spending 5 hours a day working, and how much are you spending a day doing your business, running your business?
So I get up at 7
Okay.
usually.
Yeah.
I start working straight away. I work till about 1. Then I go to work, and then I get home at gone 7, and then I'll work till like 8 or 9, and then I'll have like 1 hour
You said
before I go to bed.
you said you do your customer service assistant or customer.
I used to be.
Yeah.
I currently work at a school
Okay. That's
cleaning,
cool.
very unglamorous.
Yeah.
But I found like I needed a job that was part-time but pretty much paid a full-time wage, which it does. And also I get all the school holidays off.
So you've got
So
that
like
free time.
summer you get the 6 weeks off. So that's where like why I decided to go with that job.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, hopefully New Year, January, leaving the job
Mm.
and hopefully making the business work fully.
I've never understood. Sorry. I've never understood, and I've always admired people who work a job and they're running a business. Like I know some people that when they were starting their businesses, at least they were working like two jobs. They were like running their business. They were maybe going to school as well. And I don't
Mm.
understand how people can do it. It's like, how are you like doing a job and running a business? You know, I'm lucky. Like I'm doing the enterprise year, so I can commit all my time to the business if I wanted to. So my life's pretty easy, to be honest. Like comparatively to like what some people have to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like how do you deal with the stress of having a normal job and running a business and just everything else you want to do in life?
Not very well. Um, but basically, the reason that I have this job is because I've got two kind of life dreams,
Yeah,
or that I've had since I was a teenager. So, like, one of them was to have this business, and the other one was that I wanted to convert a van into like a tiny home.
that's cool.
So that's why I've decided this year that I would get a job and work on that dream
Mm-hmm.
alongside my other dream, and that's what keeps me going. It's like thinking I'm not going to work because I need the money or that I want, like, that I need to work. I'm going because I'm trying to build the other part of like my life, and that's kind of what keeps me going.
So you don't need to work to like survive. You're doing it so you can convert a minivan, did you say, into like a mobile home almost?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So, like, at the moment, I live at home, so I don't have to pay any bills or anything like that. Like, my mum literally doesn't charge me anything to live at home.
Mm.
So, it's not that I need the money,
Mm.
as such. It's just, yeah, to work on like the other part of my life, I guess.
Just to play devil's advocate, wouldn't it
Mm.
serve both of your goals better if you were to focus all of your time on just the business? Because obviously your business has a much higher earning potential because
Mm.
there's realistically no upper limit. It just depends what happens. Whereas if you're working a job, you're kind of paid a set wage, unless like minimum wage, if you're paid minimum wage goes up or you get a pay rise.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it serve both of your dreams better if you was to focus on your business completely, like really intensely, not worry
Mm.
about like getting a job, etc., while you don't need it, and then focus on getting money from that, and then having a percentage of your profits set aside for your minivan dream?
Yeah. I guess like all the kind of books that I've read about business, and people say that like you don't make money until like the second or third year of business. That's like the average.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for the first year, I don't want to take any money out of the business at all.
Okay.
And I started the business and I only worked 8 hours a week. And I worked on the weekend, so I had all the week that I was working on it full time,
Hmm.
and it just wasn't realistic that
No.
I was gonna make enough money to do that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Yeah,
but
that's.
next year, that's my goal. Like that's my biggest goal, is to be able to pay myself.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because yeah, obviously it's. I know a lot of businesses they don't make a lot of money, especially like you say during like the first year, um, and
Especially COVID as well.
especially because of COVID. Yeah, like I know a couple of business owners that I know they've all felt that they're just praying for lockdown to end, not because they can't go out, just because they're not making any money now.
Yeah.
Especially like gym owners and like fitness coaches, they've been hit
Mm.
hard. Travel agents, obviously. Um, yeah, so obviously businesses, as you and I both know, they very rarely make a lot of money anyway in the first kind of year or 2 years. How do you personally keep yourself motivated day after day if you're, I don't know obviously what you're making, but if you're making no money on something or making very little money, how do you keep yourself motivated even when you're putting in, let's say, 16 hours a day and you're not making the money from it to justify that right now?
Um, I guess like I've never really had a lot of money. So like I left uni and I worked full time for like 3 months max, I think.
Hmm.
And I saved all that money and then I lived off that money for a year while I was like starting the business.
It's not bad.
And then after that, I was only working 8 hours a week.
Hmm.
And then all that money was like going on rent, basically.
Hmm.
So I never had like loads of money. So I've never had to like transition from caring about money, like being like, oh my God, how am I going to survive? Because that is just how I've like lived, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Um, and I don't favor money over like my time. Like I'd rather be having fun every day doing what I want than going to a crap job and
Yeah.
hating my life just for money. And this is what I say to people as well. I've got friends that are my age, and I say to them, are you any better off than I am? And they will say no. They don't have anything else extra than I do, even though they've been working full time for years.
Mm.
So it's like, what's the point? Like if you
Yeah.
haven't got anything out of it, like yeah, you might be able to go out more than I can or buy like clothes or, the newest phone or whatever. But we're still at the same level. Like you don't have more than I do, really.
Well, no, I would actually argue that you've got more than them. Like, I know it's not a competition, but you've actually got the freedom to do what you want to do. And if you wanted to,
Yeah.
you could turn around and say, right, I'm going on holiday for 4 weeks. Pay
Hmm.
somebody to just handle your content creation, pay somebody to handle, I don't know, the making of your clothes and the customer service side of it. And you can just say, right, I'm off to IB for 4 weeks. If you have a major problem, I'm going to be available once a week, and just call me there. So I think
Yeah.
you've actually got more than like your friends who are working and maybe they have more money, but like saying money doesn't really mean anything.
It's
Um,
like my dad would always say, who's a richer person? The person that earns less money but saves more, or the person that earns more but spends it all?
mm,
And it's that, isn't it? Like the more money you have, the more money you spend.
mm,
Is that worth like loads of people will moan every day, those typical sayings that people say when you go to work, like, is it Friday yet? Oh no, I'm not happy, it's Monday. Blah, 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 blah. Is
mm.
that worth it for the money if you're not going to spend the money wisely, if you're going to just waste it anyway?
Oh no, 100%. If you're just literally waiting for the weekend, or like living for Fridays, then that's obviously like 2 out of 7 days a week that you're going to be
Yeah,
living your life.
yeah, exactly.
And obviously, not everybody is the right kind of person to start a business. Not everybody's the entrepreneurial type, so not everybody should start a business. But you know, I've like people think that it's a long time waiting for 1 or 2 years before your business is successful, but then they'll
Hmm.
go and work for 40 to 50 years and be struggling for money, living paycheck to paycheck, and it just
Hmm.
seems so backwards. And it's like, fair enough, maybe you don't want to start a business, but you've got to see the irony in that.
Mm, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
yeah. So at least what I've experienced a lot, and I definitely am not good. I'm definitely not the sort of person who should get employed or work a 9 to 5. I don't take instruction well. I want to do what I want to do.
No, I don't either.
I've had a normal job for a total of 3 weeks in my life, and then I left. I couldn't. I could do the job, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
but I hate it because it was like, right, first thing in the morning, you've got to do this, 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 and this, and they were telling me what to do, and it was like, I don't care about your business. I don't care about these shoes that I'm racking up. Please just let me go home. And even though the pay was great, it was just like, it's not what I want to do with my time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's much more valuable than money to me anyway.
Mm.
So yeah, like that's how I don't need to stay motivated by thinking like, oh, I'm gonna make money.
Mm.
Like my motivation is I'm doing what I want to do every day.
Yeah, 100%. Like one question I get asked a lot is because, especially at the beginning, I was talking a lot about my business because it was exciting, and I still do to a degree, spend a lot of my time thinking about my business. And one question a lot of people ask me is like, do you not get bored? Like, how do you spend all your time thinking about work? And then I just sort of look at them and I'm like, but it doesn't really feel like work. You know, I'm sitting here thinking about something that I'm passionate about, and it's no different to you sitting there thinking, God, I can't wait to go out on a weekend. Like that is my going out on a weekend, me coming up with a new idea for my business or a new idea for content or messaging somebody and building that sort of relationship with them to then, you know, potentially have them as a client or even just as a business partner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Like we said earlier, it's just something that people who don't think like that can't understand.
Yeah.
So, one other thing then is obviously with universities, and not so much now, but definitely a couple of years ago, universities and schools, my school for definite, they push the 9 to 5 lifestyle. They push, you know, you need to finish your GCSEs, finish your A levels, go to university, get a degree, get a 9 to 5 job, work for 40, 50 years, retire and then live that kind of life. And that was the only real career option that I was told about. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until university when I've started meeting people with like the entrepreneurial kind of mindset, started speaking to people that actually were interested in that, that I then realised, hang on a minute, I don't have to get a job. You know, like I don't just have to work a 9 to 5. Like my plan was to come to university, do my degree, then get a master's degree, then work in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now, you know, I'm going to finish my degree. Don't get me wrong, because I'm 2 years into it now. I'm obviously going to finish it. So, but like I don't want to just go into the industry and get a 9 to 5. Like how, like when there's so little support and so little exposure to the entrepreneurship life, how do you how do you propose that people go out and find that for themselves? Because I had to find it for myself, and it wasn't easy. I would assume you had to, and I know a lot of my friends have had to. So, like, how do you suggest that people go out and find that?
I don't know. I guess like ever since I was little, I knew that I was never going to work for anyone. Like I never wanted to be told what I could design. And that just seems like a waste of time and like putting money in someone else's pocket. But I think for me, like my granddad is a business owner
Mm-hmm.
and he's like really like well established where he is. And I think maybe being brought up with that has kind of influenced me thinking that I can just do what I want to do because
Mm.
that's what he did. And then it's become like a family business, and you know, my auntie and cousins work there, I've worked there, my mum's worked there. It's like maybe being brought up surrounded by that kind of way has influenced the way that I am.
Yeah, no, 100%. It is definitely difficult if you don't have any family members that are running a business or have that kind of mindset. Like my family overall has been pretty supportive. Like that, you know, they're like, you know, go do what you want to do. But none of them, with the exception of like one uncle that I rarely see, has run a bit their own business and runs their own business. They all work a 9 to 5 job. Like I've got a couple that work at banks, I've got a couple that work in retail, sort of car dealerships. Like it's all 9 to 5, and it is difficult. Like I said, I had to go out and find that for myself, or I didn't go out and find it for myself. I just happened to meet somebody that was interested in it, and I was like, oh, what do you mean? Like I swear I had to get a 9 to 5. Like that's what I've been told my whole life.
Yeah.
Um, one big dream that I've kind of had, whether it actually turns into a real thing or not, is I would love to own a university that, or like a school that teaches people not just how to be a good employee, but also how to be a good business owner, how to be an entrepreneur, like, or even a school that specialises for those type of people. I've always had that kind of vision. I can imagine running a school that, like, or having somebody run a school that actually teaches those kind of skills and teaches people to be those kind of people, rather than trying to turn everybody into a robot that just takes orders and does what other people want.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good.
I know.
Yeah,
Whether it becomes a reality.
we were like deterred from starting a business at uni. Like they apparently, I don't know how true it is, but because the industry is so small, basically they don't teach it because they're friends with everyone in the industry and they don't want to create more competition within the industry.
Hmm. See, that's the weird thing. I know, like, when you think, oh god, there's going to be more competition, that obviously makes you think that's not a good thing. But competition, right? The facts have actually shown, or like statistics actually show, that the more competition there is in a market, the better it is.
Mm,
So if you, like, for example, if you just had Pepsi, Pepsi would sell, I don't know, let's say for argument's sake, 100 cans a day. But if Coke came along, they would both then sell 200 cans a day. And the reason behind that is because psychologically, you don't, like, it goes from being, do I want a fizzy drink, do I want a can of drink or not? It goes from
mm,
that to which fizzy drink do I want? So actually
yeah,
having more competition, I know a lot of people, like, I was baffled by this when I first heard it, but like having more competition is good for everybody. You know, sales will go up for every single person, with the exception of some, if there's
hmm,
more competition. So, you know, even if you're a business owner, if you train people to become business owners, that's probably only going to help your business.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm. And I don't know about, you know, universities deterring people as such, but it definitely wasn't easy for me to find out about the placement year that I'm doing at the moment. Like, years in
Hmm.
industry, it's every week there was an email saying, oh, do you want to work for this company? Do you want to work for this company? But I had to go through a link, through a link, through a link, through a, like, you know, back page, just to find the information I was looking for about this enterprise year. And I'm not bashing De Montfort or anything like that, because I suppose it's just not got the funding for that. But you know, like, even the information, like, it was like last year's information, so it hadn't been updated yet, and it just, I don't know, it's just not a priority in any university, not just De Montfort, it's any university. It's just not a priority. Um, and I think if I was given control over every university or every school, that's what I would do. Is just make that not necessarily a priority, but give that its, you know, time in the sun, give it its time of day, because it's just not. It's just so minor, and it's so obscure right now that it's difficult to find it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, right, that is it for me then. Um, Real quick though, when are you actually releasing? Like, do you have a release date for your new collection?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so it's just a case of waiting for the factories at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, that is it for my kind of questions and stuff I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
That's all right. It's been absolutely fantastic. We'll have to get you on again at some point when you've released your collection.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you.